I do have a very serious question for you.
Yeah.
You and I are anticipating on just having the best time this year at BravoCon in Vegas,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Hell yeah.
We are going to tear shit up. We have a crew of people. It's going to be the best time, but I feel like Gina will too. In your mind, might this be Gina's last BravoCon?
I think, I mean, if I were to like be a betting man, and I'm not, but I would think she goes to friend of, or she's off the show. We've had 5 seasons, and I think Emily is finally really ensconced in it. Like, I feel like Emily is almost, you know, I could really make the argument that Emily definitely deserves to be there. I just don't know what Gina can continue to do. I mean, the Shannon, and that's almost, I almost don't buy the Shannon Gina fighting on social media. I almost sometimes believe that's like Shannon trying to help Gina out, because I can't believe 5 seasons in, Gina is super offended by like weird extensions. Like, you know, Gina made a whole post of like, you know, that was a certain point in my life that I'm not proud of, and I'm strong. And it's like, yo, girl, it's not that deep. Like, it is not that deep. It is just a funny bit that we all laughed at. But also, yeah, you look great now. That's the whole thing you should focus on. Like, of course we're laughing, but you're ever like Vicky came in as herself and make fun of herself. Like, that's part of the gig. And for her to get this sensitive about it, like, just seemed so weird to me that I almost felt like, are you faking this? Because you can't be this upset about somebody dressing like you, because also then you shouldn't go to BravoCon because other people are probably going to dress like you. That's part of the Bravo audience. There's like silly stuff that we like to talk about, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, you know, also Heather and Gina felt like Shannon even bringing this up was sort of her deflecting on her own relationship. And I'll say one thing, and you get this too, Ryan. I've literally had my relationship attacked, dismantled, disparaged, everything. And I think that, I think it does say a lot in your reaction. Like, are you going to stand there and be like a Heather Dubrow and be like, okay, whatever? Or are you going to be like, I don't know why this is my life, and like flip your shit? And I think that when you flip your shit, I mean, depending, if somebody brings something up to you and you flip your shit, it's a little questionable. Like, if they keep in and keep on, and it's just like attack after attack, eventually you're going to snap. And I get that. But like in this moment, I'm like, Shannon, girl, this is not, you're not giving us like a great vibe of like, everything's okay.
Oh, no, at all. But what I love is that, like, see, this is so dark, but I love when Shannon flips her shit. For me, I'm like, that's classic OC. But when Gina, like, even comes close to flipping her shit, it's just that, like, you know, like, you care about certain people and certain reactions. And with Gina, that's just the difference. It's like, I want to watch Shannon flip her shit. Like, she takes the bait every time. I mean, also the drinking doesn't help, but she gets in there immediately. And I think that is, I hate to say that's like classic OC, but we have now a supercut of Shannon flipping her shit. And by the way, if we really want to go like technical, David Beador and John Jansen have really interesting similarities that nobody points out. There seems to be a buttoned up light anger in both of their eyes. And I know that's reading way too into it, but John has that same kind of like quiet, like, you know, but you can just tell, like, I always do him on the show where I'm like, I'm John Jansen. Cause he's just, you could tell he wants to explode sometimes, and he just keeps it buttoned in a lot like David Beador did. And I found it interesting, even though Shannon says, what an amazing, great man, there seems to be similarities in terms of demeanor and potential anger in both of those men.
You know, it kind of reminds me of my mom's late husband, literally narcissistic, crazy. The anger issues would come out in front of everybody. He was the best guy. Everybody thought that he was the saint. And I remember, but like, as soon as the front door would close, it was like, whew, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it was like, well, eyes turned, rolled in the back of your head.
Yeah. If Shannon has to like really be this like careful about anybody bringing up John, that's like kind of scary in itself. And every time she's around John, John's like, yeah, she doesn't tell me much. Like, you really get the sense that Shannon does not talk about filming with John at all. And so I have a feeling John doesn't watch I remember meeting John Jansen at BravoCon last year, and he was legitimately shocked that I was like, hey, can I get a picture? And he was like, like, it was like that first day before BravoCon started and they were coming in the Ganswort, and he was shocked. He was like, I guess, like, but he like, you don't get the sense that he really fully understood the popularity of these shows at times, and so it kind of weirds him out. But Shannon seems like scared to like just tell him anything except for the penis picture with Ryan.
Right. And also sometimes I feel like, and Shannon, we might be dissecting your relationship a little bit too much right now, but I'm sorry, you're on a
But I
reality
love
show.
Shannon. By the way, I love Shannon. That's like,
I
I say this out of love because Shannon's one of those people that's untouchable. Like, I still love Shannon regardless of what she does. I can't say the same for Gina.
Right. And I think that also you're saying the same thing that the rest of the cast is saying, where it looks like there might be some red flags in your relationship. And I think that a lot of people, when you're in a relationship that's so toxic, like your last one, your marriage, I think that some of those tendencies you see, and that might, like, if you see them in another person, but then you can see the good in them, it almost feels like home, like some of those narcissistic tendencies or those, just volatile tendencies or just anything that could be negative, but you're like, I can fix you. I can, oh my God, he's a good guy. And he, you know what? I put him through a lot. I'm on a show. I'm not a lot, like, I'm not easy to handle. My life is not easy to handle. He's such a good man. And then I'm thinking, when Heather Dubrow is going down the line and Emily's going down the line and he calls you fat, he never sleeps over. He says that you can't ever sleep over because his son's at the house. He never pays for anything. I'm like,
yeah, I was like, Heather was like, she never stays there and he never stays. Like, so you're basically saying they've never slept together overnight if neither of them, like, what do they get, hotels? Also, I took this screenshot because I thought it was so weirdly funny, scary, was when Shannon was flipping out at the end and she goes, I have normal fights with my boyfriend that paralyze me. And she said this as like standing up for her relationship. But I'm like, girl, if you have fights that paralyze you, that's not normal either. They should, like, that's not good. She's like, I have normal fights that paralyze me. You contradict yourself in the same sentence. Normal fights don't end up in paralyzation that you're like that messed up with. That's just not natural. And I know she loves companionship, and I don't know, they seem very addicted to each other.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, because you know what's so funny, and Jason's listening to this right now, but even this morning, we had a little argument over what we're doing with like moving situations and stuff like that. And it's not an argument, but it's a conversation. And it's like, it's so much because it's so overwhelming. And it's like the ability to kind of have the, well, fuck, what do we do? And this and that. And it kind of like gets angsty in a minute, but then it's like, okay, we'll figure this out together because we're a team. And that's how we always operate. But it's not like I feel paralyzed where I can't come on here and do my recap or even move forward with my husband because of this conversation. I like when she says paralyzing, I'm like, I've never felt like that in a relation or in a fight in my own personal relationship that I've been in 10 years. And if you do feel that way, which I feel so sorry for you, I feel like that could be a red flag.
Well, I mean, listen, Adam, I have felt like that before, and that led to me getting a divorce. Like, I have felt exactly like, but Shannon has never stepped into her confidence.